Bum bum bada bum 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 bada bum 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 bum. Louisa May Alcott's Little Women. Little Women. Little Women is a great book, and lots of people usually seem to attract themselves towards it because they seem to be able to see themselves in the main character, Jo. Jo is a little woman, apparently, as the book calls her. And so are her three sisters, which is Beth, age 16, Jo, age 15, Meg, age 13, and Amy, age 12. And they are all little women, and they seem to be like going into adulthood, especially Beth, although she probably won't live to see it herself. It's foreshadowing here, people. Next thing that seems to happen is that they all talk. It's Christmas morning, and they're all like, "Yay, good food, and we each have $1. How should we spend it? Hey, let's spend it on ourselves. $1 for each of us. Yay!" And the Beth's like, "No, Marmee worked so hard. She's not even here this morning just so she could tend to the poor. Let's all spend $1 for 4 presents for her." And he's like, "Nice idea. I'll buy a little bottle of cologne, and I will have a little bit left for me." $1, that was basically like $14 today. Whatever, Siri won't even answer my own questions. That happens. And the next thing I have to say is that they decide to give away their breakfast to the poor people that Marmee found, according to Marmee's, according to that. And then that happens. They give away their breakfast. They don't have any breakfast that morning. And then the kids who are starving, they're like, "Yay! We are good. We're thank you, angels." Angels in funny scarves, as Jo would say. And they all laughed. Next thing I want to say is that, their father's in the Civil War. This is during the Civil War, and all of them are trying to figure out what they should do with their own lives. Jo wants to be a writer. Bev wants to be a musician, or especially a pianist. And then who should I not say? Meg is just like the pet and doesn't really have any aspirations. Wait, sorry, I missed that. Beth is the one who did not have any aspirations. Meg is the pianist, and Amy is just the artist, and she just wants to be a great artist too. And Jo has to take care of Aunt March, who is a grumpy head, and is like, I'll give you my money when I'm dead. If you do not marry that guy, he's too poor for you. Ha ha! Marry someone rich, and you will be better off. Yeah, that's a terrible advice, Martin. That's terrible advice. That's terrible advice. Do not listen to those people. Next thing I want to say is that finally, they try to develop their talents. In fact, they also do some plays, and they have a particularly happy life. Amy goes to school. Meg doesn't go to school because she's too shy. And Bev and Jo, their school time ended. Remember, this is a Civil War. Lots of women stopped going to school right after elementary school just so that they could learn how to read and write. That's it. That's what they went to school for. Afterwards, it's just boys who went to that school. Afterwards, it's just boys everywhere, and that it's not that very comfortable if you haven't realized. Next up, we basically have loads of partners happening. Meg is finally proposed to by Mr. Brooke. Laurie, who is also their next door neighbor and a very handsome and hotshot guy. They're basically like that, and then, well, they go ahead and propose to each other. They marry after 3 years because they were not financially supported enough. They're not financially supported enough, so they can't marry each other just yet. And then, long story short, Laurie tries to propose to Jo. Jo's like, no. Laurie blames him trying to glove an old guy, and he's like, what old guy? Your grandpa? And she's like, no, that old professor guy you saw while you were on your visit away from here. I'm like, oh, that guy. I don't like him that much. He's just a helper. And then Laurie decides to marry Amy after he finds out she's a little pretty and stuff. And then the next thing that seems to happen is that Beth dies because she got scarlet fever, contracted from a baby who died of scarlet fever while she was attending to her duties. And that's Beth. And Jo, she was a writer. She's successful, although she writes according to her rubbish, as she does not like to write romance stories. She would rather write thriller stories. And the last thing I want to say is that Joe finally is proposed to by Mr. Barr, the professor guy I was talking about. And Mr. Barr, he's a good teacher. He's poor though. He has a nephew to take care of. And then after they marry, she's like, hey, let's not be completely 18th century, the normal 18th century couples. Let's just go ahead and build a school for boys. And they're like, he's like, sure, I'll do it. I'll do that. And they open a school together. However, Beth is dead, which is a sad thing. Wong, 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 wong. So if anything you can get out of this book is that the whole thing that this thing teaches you is that it's okay to be independent. Just as long as you work hard for it, believe, and you can afford it, then you'll be able to do anything you achieve. If you have this right mindset, then you can do anything you want. If you have, and you can even do it easier if you have the right people relationships too. And last thing I would say is that although people seem to not enjoy each other's company that much, and people might fight each other, there are times when you guys have to work together. You'll always find people who you kind of not like to each other, and people who will try to get to you in a nice way or a bad way. All you have to do is not just ignore them, but deal with them. Personally, I would like to punch them in the face, but that's not the solution to everything. So I hope to see you guys soon in another episode of Hunter and Sean. And last of all hail the god of cats, Claude the cat. Overlord Claude is waiting for you. Peace. Oh yeah, and remember, it's okay to be independent. Wear a seatbelt.